Hello my dear ones. Here again we are here to discuss about federation, about federalism. In the previous lectures we have focused upon federal structure, federal countries, two types of federation that exist in the world. Today our first topic will be what actually makes India a federal country. Although in the second lecture we had discussed that the 7 features: sharing power, power sharing at different levels, courts play a very important role. Then there are 12 objectives of any federal country, of any federalism which exists in India. In India, there is mutual trust and agreement to live together, and for that all the factors have been adopted so that all the states, they belong to one country. And as far as power sharing is concerned, there is no grievance, there are no grievances in any of the level, because the powers have been clearly mentioned in the constitution so as to guarantee them their powers. So again we are to ask ourselves what actually makes India a federal country. So if this question is there of 5 marks, you can write down the features in short, one line, all the features. Then you can write down about the list system that have been adopted in the country, in India. The list system, that means power sharing between the center, state, local bodies, that is municipalities and panchayats. This question also comes in a direct form. Explain the distribution pattern of this administrative subjects in India in the list system. So in both the types, both the question, you have to write the same answer, the list system, or what makes India truly a federal country. So our constitution makers were aware that India is a very vast country with lots of diversities, with lots of differences. So they did not took any chance that there are grievances, and if there are grievances, there are arrangements for it. There are legal arrangements for it. So first of all, we will focus upon the list system. The first list that is there to show us that India is truly a federal country is Union List. The first one, Union List. It consists of 97 subjects. In the Union List, there are 97 subjects, and all the subjects are concerned with the national importance. All the subjects, like for example, defense, foreign affairs, banking, currency. Remember something about currency? We have discussed in history that why different currencies, if they exist in a country, how it brings chaos in the country. So all these 97 subjects which are of national importance, they are 97 subjects clearly mentioned in the Union List, and only central government can legislate on these subjects independently. Central government can make laws on it. These are 97 subjects. All are of national importance. Give examples: currency, banking, etc. Defense, foreign affairs. The second list is state list. The state list consists of 66 subjects. All the 66 subjects are the subjects of state importance. Trade, agriculture, all these subjects, they are included in the state list, on which law and order. If every state maintains law and order, country will be at peace. There will be harmony and peace in the country. So states have been given all these powers which are important for a state. 66 subjects. Correct? We have discussed that in India there is a state list. In every state there is a government, and they can alone legislate on these subjects in normal times. When everything is going on normal, when everything is going on smooth, only state government is authorized to make policies on the 66 subjects mentioned in the state list. I gave you the example: agriculture, trade, law and order, etc. Second list. Then third list. The third list is the concurrent list. The concurrent list, it consists of 47 subjects. And this list contains the subjects which are important for both center and state. both the government, central government as well as the state government. They are important for the whole nation as well as for the states. Concurrent, 47. And both central and the state governments, their officials, they can sit together and they can form policies on these 47 subjects of concurrent list. These subjects, however, include marriage and divorce, they include adoption, they include forest, education. You can very well imagine that all these subjects are not only important for particularly at the center or the state, they are for all. Forest and education, marriage, adoption, etc. All these subjects are included in the concurrent list, that is 47 subjects. Now here the question occurs that I am telling you that center and state both are empowered to legislate on the concurrent list. But if in case of difference, suppose center says something else, although this is it doesn't happen often, but if there is a provision that if central government thinks something else and state governments want something else, then what will happen? As I told you that India has a centralized federation, the decision of the center will prevail. So are you noticing something? In the union list, there are maximum subjects 97, only central government can legislate on it. In the state list, there are 66 subjects, and in normal times, state governments are authorized to legislate on it. Means in abnormal times, suppose there is constitutional breakdown in a state, or unfortunately there is a war, or any big chaos in the country, or anything wrong that happens in a state, then state list comes under center. Center is more powerful than states, I already told you. And have you seen that in the concurrent list also, 47 subjects, although center and state both can make laws, both can legislate on these subjects, but in case of a tie, in case of a difference of opinion, the decision of the center will prevail and states have to accept the decision of the center. So here also you can see that center tends to be more powerful than states. Then students, there is one more arrangement, because our constitution maker were aware that India being a vast country, in future maybe there is a subject, maybe there is some issue which needs that a policy should be made on it, but it is not mentioned in either of the list, either in center or state or concurrent list. Like for example, computer software and hardware, because it was after long time that computers came up. So there is another arrangement that is known as residuary powers. So how this question can be asked in board examination? That there is a list system adopted in India as a federal country. What about the subjects that are not mentioned in any of the list? So like this, the question can be asked indirectly. Then you will write down the answer. It is residuary powers. Residue itself means the remaining powers. Immediately, if any subject comes before the government, immediately, instantly, a subject comes before the government and the subject is not mentioned in any of the list. In no list the subject is mentioned. So immediately, who is authorized to make laws, to make policies on the residuary power? Center. Residuary powers are totally under the central government. So there is an arrangement for residuary powers also. So like this, there is distribution of administrative power in India that makes India truly a federal country. Proper division, proper list system have been adopted in the constitution. However, in India, there are certain regions like Delhi, Chandigarh, Lakshadweep. They are termed as union territories. They have special powers. Now, the question of 3 marks, what do you mean by union territories? Union territories are those regions of India which are too small to be given the status of a state and not too small to be merged in a state. The regions, not too small to be merged with any adjoining state, and they are too small to be given the status of a state. So such regions are termed as union territories and they enjoy special powers. Because in the union territories there is no government like we see in the state governments. Union territories are directly ruled over by the center. However, as we have seen that center have lots of work to do. Center have to do lots of work. So many subjects are there with the center, with the union government. So, union government for its convenience can appoint a governor and then governor can further appoint the officials and then they are able to run the administration of union territories. You can very well see or imagine or you would have experienced that when we go to Delhi or Chandigarh or Lakshadweep, we find certain things very different from the states. That is because these are rightly called the union territories. Correct? So, we have discussed about the list system. We have discussed about what makes India truly a federal country. We will focus on these topics again in the next lecture by discussing that how if a change is required in the constitutional provisions of India, then what is the procedure of amending the constitution? Because amending the constitution is also not easy in a country or particularly in a holding together federation like India. Then if there is a change is needed in the constitution, what will be the procedure? We will discuss in the next lecture. And we will also discuss that how courts play a very important role in making a federal structure successful and in avoiding any misunderstanding or any other thing between the different levels of the government. So, in the next lecture, we will discuss further topics of these federal structures or holding together federation in India. Till then, it is a very goodbye.